You are standing on a field of dust and blood, just north of the river Aufidus. The air, thick with the August heat of southern Italy, carries a stench you will never forget. Iron, sweat, viscera, and the dry, choking smell of death. This is Cannae. Yesterday, it was a place. Today, it is a monument to perfect destruction. 50,000, perhaps 70,000, Roman and Allied dead lie, scattered across the plain, their bodies swelling under the unforgiving Sunday. Your men, the veterans of Trebia and Trasimene, move among them, methodical and grim, stripping the armor, the rings, the very sandals from the corpses. They are not ghouls. They are professionals. War is their trade, and this is its grotesque harvest. You are Hannibal Barca, and you have just bled the Roman Republic white. The victory is so absolute it feels unreal, like a fever dream. The double envelopment, the Punic Crescent that drew them in, and the African infantry that hammered the trap shut, worked beyond your most audacious calculations. You watch your cavalry commander, Hannibal, approach. His face is caked in grime, but his eyes burn with a furious energy. He gestures with a bloody sword not towards the piles of Roman dead, but north, along the Via Appia. "Send me ahead with the cavalry, Hannibal," he says, his voice raw. "Follow with the infantry. In 5 days, you will dine on the Capitoline Hill. This is the moment, the pivot point upon which the world now turns. Your staff gathers, their expressions a mixture of awe and exhaustion. They present the logistics of the situation, the cold facts that stand against Hannibal's fire. The army is wounded, weary. Your Gallic allies fought with savage bravery, but took heavy losses. Your siege train is non-existent, left behind in Spain or lost in the Alpine snows. Rome is not some provincial town. It is a fortress, protected by the massive Servian walls. Its remaining citizens, old men and boys, will fight with the desperation of cornered wolves. To march now is to gamble everything. The cautious, brilliant strategist in you, the man who meticulously plans every supply chain and ambush, screams that it is madness. But you look past the ledgers and the maps. You look at the faces of your men. You see the divine terror you have instilled in your enemy. You have not merely defeated a Roman army. You have annihilated the very idea of Roman invincibility. At this moment, in the blood-soaked aftermath of Cannae, you are more than a general. You are a demigod of vengeance, the incarnation of Baal Hammon's wrath. An army, you realize, is a weapon of flesh and bronze, but its true power is belief. Roman belief is shattered. Carthaginian belief is at its zenith. Hannibal sees the hesitation in your eyes. His face darkens. "You know how to win a victory, Hannibal." He presses, the famous words hanging in the fetid air. "You do not know how to use one." In another world, you listen to the voice of caution. You turn away from this precipice, choosing to consolidate your gains, to win over the southern Italian cities, to fight a war of attrition. You choose the path of logic, but not here, not in this world. Here, you look at Hannibal, then at the northern horizon. You see the truth in his fanaticism. The war will not be won with logistics. It will be won with fear. The Servian walls are stone and mortar, but the will of the Roman Senate is flesh and blood. That is your target. Not the walls, the will. "Hannibal," you say, your voice cutting through the haze of victory. "You will have your cavalry. We do not march to lay siege. We march to show them that their gods have abandoned them." The decision is made. A shockwave of purpose ripples through the camp. The wounded are tended to as best they can be. The dead are stripped. Every captured horse is repurposed. The Numidian light cavalry, the finest horsemen in the world, become the eyes and ears of the advance. They will not be a vanguard. They will be a plague of locusts, fanning out, burning every farm, every villa, every field that stands between Cannae and Rome. You are not bringing siege engines. You are bringing proof of annihilation. The march begins. It is a terrifying spectacle. Your army is a river of bronze and iron, flowing north through the heart of Italia. You bypass the fortified towns, the ones that would cost you time and men. Your objective is singular. The message must be clear. As you move, the carefully constructed Roman Confederation, the source of its seemingly endless manpower, begins to crack. The Samnites, the Bruttians, the Lucanians peoples who remember their own subjugation by Rome see your banners and see a chance for freedom. They send delegations, offering supplies, men, allegiance. They have seen the gods choose a side at Cannae, and they are desperate to be on the winning one. For a Roman citizen, life becomes a waking nightmare. Rumors travel faster than your army. They say you feed your men on Roman flesh. They say your elephants are demons from the underworld. Every traveller from the south brings fresh tales of horror. The Appian Way, that monument to Roman engineering and confidence, is now the artery carrying poison to the Republic's heart. Inside Rome, the news of Cannae has struck the city like a physical blow. The Senate meets in a state of collective shock. When the praetor, Quintus Fabius Maximus, the man they called cunctator, the delayer, for his cautious tactics, rises to speak, his voice is a graveyard rasp. He had warned them. He had told them not to face you in open battle. His strategy of attrition, once mocked as cowardice, is now revealed as prophecy. But it is too late. The hotheads who craved a decisive victory, men like the fallen consul Varro, have led Rome to the abyss. Then the new reports begin to arrive. Hannibal is not in Capua. He is not consolidating in the south. He is coming. The phrase spreads through the city like a fever. Hannibal ad portas. Hannibal is at the gates. Panic, pure and undiluted, grips the 7 hills. The Vestal Virgins, guardians of Rome's sacred flame, report terrible omens. The temples are filled with wailing citizens offering everything they have to gods who seem deaf. The Senate, stripped of its finest men, is a body of ghosts. Some call for a last stand, for the old men and boys to man the walls and die for the Republic. Their voices are loud, but they are hollow. They are trying to shout down the image in their minds. The field at Cannae, the legions erased from the earth. You make camp within sight of the city. You do not bother with trenches or fortifications. Your army itself is the fortification. You want them to see you. You want them to watch the smoke from the burning fields of Latium rise and blot out the Sunday. You want them to hear the laughter of your Gallic warriors and the trumpeting of your remaining elephants. Every night, the flickering of 10,000 Carthaginian campfires reflects in the waters of the Tiber. You have not thrown a single stone at their walls. You have not raised a single ladder. Yet, you have laid siege to the Roman soul, and you can feel it in the stillness of the night, in the terrified silence that emanates from the greatest city in Italy. You can feel it starting to crumble. The smoke is the first thing you notice in the morning. It is not the familiar wood smoke from 1,000 household hearths, but a greasy, acrid pall that stings your eyes and catches in the back of your throat. It is the smoke of your own fields burning. You walk the streets of Rome, and the mood is not one of defiant rage, but of a brittle, silent terror. The usual cacophony of the forum is gone. replaced by hushed whispers and the shuffling of feet. Men avoid each other's gazes, as if eye contact would force them to acknowledge the unthinkable truth. The wolf that has always hunted is now the cornered sheep. You are a Roman citizen. Yesterday, that meant you were a master of the world in waiting. Today, it means you are a prisoner in your own city. The Senate has been in session for 3 days inside the Curia Hostilia. The doors are barred, but the arguments are so venomous they seem to seep through the stone walls and poison the very air of the comitium. You hear the stories from the clerks and aides who scurry in and out. The few military tribunes who escaped the slaughter at Cannae stand before the assembled fathers, their accounts rambling and incoherent, a litany of horror that offers no hope, only a portrait of divine abandonment. They describe the dust cloud, the closing circle of African infantry, the screams that went on for hours. They speak of Hannibal not as a man, but as a plague. Inside the Curia, 2 factions have crystallized from the fear. The first is the party of tradition, of the mos maiorum, the way of the ancestors. They are led by younger senators, men whose fathers died at Trasimene, and whose brothers now lie on the fields of Cannae. Their grief has curdled into a suicidal fury. They speak of the Gauls who sacked Rome in 390 BCE and were driven out. They speak of Pyrrhus and his elephants, who won battles but lost the war. Rome does not yield, they shout, their voices cracking. We will arm the slaves. We will melt the statues for bronze. We will put our old men on the walls, and our children behind them with stones. We will die as Romans. It is a magnificent speech, full of the fire that forged the Republic. But it is the speech of ghosts. They are invoking the spirit of a Rome that, out on that bloody plain, ceased to exist. Then Quintus Fabius Maximus rises to speak. He is old, his face a roadmap of past campaigns and political battles. They call him Cunctator, the delayer. It was once an insult. Now it is his mantle of authority. He does not shout. His voice is low, measured, and utterly devoid of comfort. You speak of dying as Romans, he begins, his gaze sweeping across the faces of the war faction. What is a Roman? Is it this stone, this wood? He gestures to the walls of the Curia. Is it the name of the Republic? Or is it our children, our wives, our people, the fields that feed them, the blood that flows in their veins? He pauses, letting the silence hang heavy in the room. All of that is about to be extinguished. Forever. The men who speak of a glorious death offer you precisely that. Death. They offer us the end of the Roman people. Our name will become a cautionary tale told by Carthaginian merchants to frighten their children. The fire of Vesta will be stamped out, and the altar to Jupiter Optimus Maximus will be rededicated to Baal. This is the ethical tension laid bare. Do you sacrifice the people to save the idea of Rome? Or do you sacrifice the idea of Rome to save the people? Fabius, the ultimate pragmatist, has made his calculation. Hannibal does not want our city. Fabius continues, his logic as cold and sharp as a surgeon's knife. He wants our death. He is camped outside our walls not because he cannot breach them, but to prove that he does not need to. He is waiting for our allies to abandon us. He is waiting for starvation. He is waiting for us to tear ourselves apart in this very room. And you, he points to the young firebrands, are giving him exactly what he wants. As if on cue, a breathless messenger is permitted entry. He is a Latin, from the allied city of Capua, the second largest city in Italy. His message is simple and catastrophic. The leaders of Capua, seeing Hannibal's army, seeing the smoke over Latium, and seeing no relief column from Rome, have opened their gates to the Carthaginian. They have defected. A groan of despair fills the Curia. Capua was not some minor tribe. It was a cornerstone of their confederation. Its defection is not a crack in the foundation. It is the collapse of the entire structure. The war faction falls silent. Their arguments about Roman resilience were built on the assumption of a loyal Italy, of endless reserves of manpower. That assumption has just been proven false. Fabius presses his advantage. We have lost the war. That is a fact. The only question now is whether we also lose Rome. He proposes the unthinkable. They will send envoys. They will ask for terms. It is not peace, he argues. It is a pause. It is a delay, the only one left to him. It is a strategy to survive today so that a future generation might fight tomorrow. It is a bitter, humiliating but logical choice. The hero of Roman fortitude becomes the architect of its submission. The vote is not even close. The will to fight on is broken. 3 senators are chosen as envoys. They are stripped of their magisterial rings and clad in simple, unadorned togas of mourning. There is no ceremony, no pomp. They walk out of the Porta Capena, the gate that leads onto the Appian Way, not as conquerors, but as supplicants. You watch them go, and a part of you dies, the part that believed Rome was eternal. They are taken to Hannibal's command tent. They expect to find a savage, a barbarian warlord gloating amidst piles of loot. Instead, they find a man of 40, his face lined with fatigue, but his eyes sharp with intelligence. He speaks to them in fluent Greek, the language of diplomacy. There is no anger in his voice, only a chilling finality. He listens to their pleas for a just peace. Then he gives his terms. They are not the terms of a conqueror who wishes to rule, but of an executioner who wishes to ensure his victim never rises again. Rome will surrender its entire war fleet. It will pay a staggering indemnity of 10,000 silver talents, a sum designed to bankrupt it for a generation. It will renounce all claims to territory outside of Latium. All its alliances, its confederation, its entire network of power across Italy, is to be dissolved, effective immediately. Every city will be free to make its own treaty with Carthage. Rome will be forbidden from raising an army of more than 10,000 men, for defensive purposes only, and can declare war on no one without the permission of the Carthaginian Senate. The envoys are stunned. He is not going to burn the city. He is not going to enslave the population. He is going to leave them their lives and take everything else. He is turning Rome into a museum piece, a client state, neutered and caged within its own ancestral lands. When the envoys return, the terms are read aloud to the Senate. A silence deeper than any you have ever known settles over the city. There is no debate. There is no protest. There is only the dead weight of acceptance. They have chosen survival. The treaty is ratified. That evening, for the first time in centuries, the great public sacrifices are cancelled. The altar on the Capitoline, where generations of triumphant generals have given thanks to Jupiter, stands cold and bare. Its fire has gone out. The flame of Vesta in her temple still burns, a tiny pinprick of light in an encroaching darkness. But the public faith, the civic religion that bound every citizen to the destiny of the state, is shattered. The gods did not answer. The unlit altar is a monument to their silence, and to the day the Roman spirit was broken not by a sword, but by a treaty. You stand on the foredeck of a Carthaginian quinquereme, the salt spray cool against your face. The deep blue of the Tyrrhenian Sea is your people's birthright, a liquid empire held by oar and sail. Your symbol is not the eagle or the wolf. It is the trident. It represents the power that matters, the power to move, to trade, to connect, and to isolate. Before you, the coastline of Italy rises from the morning mist, a patchwork of greens and ochres. It is beautiful, yes, but you see it not as a poet would, but as a landowner sees his vineyard. It is a place of immense potential, ripe for cultivation and, most importantly, for harvesting. You are a suffet, a magistrate of Carthage, sent to oversee the implementation of the new order. The war is over. The business has begun. Your ship does not make for the silted, sullen mouth of the Tiber. Ostia is a ghost port now. Its docks rotting, its warehouses empty. The only ships that call there are small coasters carrying barely enough grain to feed the humbled city of Rome. Instead, you sail south, into the magnificent bay of Neapolis. The Greek city of Neapolis, like so many others, has eagerly signed a treaty of commerce with Carthage. They pay a modest tribute in exchange for protection and access to your trade network. It is a good deal for them. It is a better deal for you. You land not as a conqueror, but as a partner. The local Greek magistrates greet you with smiles that do not quite reach their eyes. They are free of Roman domination, but they know a new master has arrived, one more interested in their treasury than their legions. This is the Carthaginian model of empire. It is not built on assimilation, citizenship, and legions, the cumbersome and expensive tools of the Romans. It is built on garrisons in key ports, treaties that favour Carthaginian merchants, and tribute that flows like a river into the coffers of the mother city. Carthage does not want to make Italians into Punics. It simply wants Italians to make Punics rich. Your true destination is inland, the city of Capua, the city that sealed Rome's fate by defecting. As you travel the road, you see the difference. The great Roman-built roads are still here, but they are no longer the arteries of a single unified body. They are now just routes between disparate markets. You see Samnite chieftains managing their own affairs, Etruscan priests reviving their ancient rites, Lucanian mercenaries for hire. Italy has reverted to what it once was, a geographic expression, a tapestry of fierce, proud peoples, no longer forced to kneel to a single city. This is the freedom Hannibal promised them. In Capua, you meet with the city fathers. They are proud of their role in Rome's downfall and expect to be treated as equals. You let them have their pride. You praise their wisdom and courage. Then you present them with the treaty. Capua will be the regional hub for Carthaginian interests. They will host a permanent garrison to protect them, of course. Their craftsmen will produce goods for export exclusively on Carthaginian ships. Their merchants will pay a tariff to trade in any port west of Sicily. It is all very polite, very reasonable, and it is utterly non-negotiable. Herein lies the unexpected twist of their liberation. The Capuans and others like them thought they were escaping a cage. They have merely traded a Roman cage for a Carthaginian one. The Roman cage was one of military service and political subjugation, but it offered the promise of law, stability, and eventual citizenship. The Carthaginian cage is gilded with commerce and local autonomy, but it is an economic prison. Their wealth, their resources, their very prosperity are now tied to the fortunes of a distant city that sees them not as future citizens, but as permanent clients. This is the ethical tension of the new Italy, the choice between two forms of servitude. Was it better to be a Roman subject, with the potential to become a Roman, or a Carthaginian ally, with no potential to be anything other than a source of revenue? The Italians are about to learn the answer, generation by generation. From Capua, your duties require a brief, unpleasant visit to Rome. You travel the Via Appia, the road that Hannibal's phantom army once haunted. Now, it is quiet. The burnt-out farms are being slowly reclaimed by nature. You enter the city, and the silence is unnerving. The Forum, once the heart of a vibrant republic, is a place of echoes. Old men sit on the steps of the Temple of Saturn, where the state treasury once bulged with the wealth of the world. Now, it is a hollow shell, its contents siphoned off in quarterly indemnity payments to your city. You meet with the cowed Roman Senate. They are impeccably polite. They treat you with a formal deference that is more insulting than any curse. They are a people playing a role, the role of the defeated. They hand over the silver, meticulously counted and weighed. They report on the dismantling of their navy, as per the treaty. They are good prisoners. But as you leave, you see the hatred in their eyes. It is a cold, patient hatred. Rome is no longer a threat. It is a wound that will not close, a permanent source of resentment on the Italian peninsula. Your analysts in Carthage see this as a manageable problem. You are not so sure. Humiliation is a seed that can lie dormant for a century before sprouting into a forest of spears. You return to Carthage, and the contrast is dizzying. Your city is the vibrant, beating heart of the world. The Cothan, the great circular military harbour, is filled with the warships that guarantee the peace. The merchant harbour is a forest of masts, a riot of languages and cultures. Silver from the Barcid mines in Iberia, now operating at a scale unimaginable before the war, flows in to be minted into coins that are the standard of exchange from the pillars of Melqart to the shores of Phoenicia. Grain from Sicily and Sardinia, tribute from the Italian cities, amber from the north, ivory from Africa, it all flows here. Carthage is not a nation-state. It is a global corporation with an army. One evening, you walk past the Tophet. This is the sacred precinct where, in times of great crisis, the city's elite offer their firstborn sons to Baal Hammon and Tanit. The practice has become rarer, but the stone stelae commemorating the sacrifices of past generations stand as a stark reminder of the city's soul. This is the unbridgeable gulf between you and the Romans. They built their society on law, contract, and civic duty. Yours is built on blood, commerce, and a dark, transactional faith. You sacrifice to your gods for tangible results. Victory, profit, security. The Romans sacrificed for the glory of the state itself. Their gods failed them. Yours delivered. It is a simple, terrifying calculus. The Western Mediterranean is now stable. It is a Punic lake. The vine of Italy is pruned and tied to a Carthaginian trellis. The Trident is unchallenged. But you are a student of history as well as a magistrate. The world is larger than this lake. Messengers bring news from the east. With Rome gone as a counterbalance, Philip of Macedon is stirring, his ambitions inflamed. He crushes Greek leagues with impunity, his sarissas meeting no opposing legions. In the farther east, the Seleucids and Ptolemies watch each other, their ancient rivalry now unconstrained by the shadow of a rising power in the west. The fall of Rome did not create a vacuum. It shattered a dam, and now the waters are beginning to shift in ways no one, not even Hannibal, could have predicted. You are standing in the great hall of the palace at Pella, the ancient capital of Macedon. The air is cool, a welcome relief from the summer dust of your journey. Mosaics depicting lion hunts and scenes from the life of Heracles sprawl across the floor, their polished stones worn smooth by the footsteps of kings and supplicants. You are one of the latter. As an envoy of the Aetolian League, you have come here many times before. In the past, your visits were a delicate dance of diplomacy, a game of flattery and veiled threats. You would hint at your league's alliance with Rhodes, its friendship with Pergamum, and, most importantly, its understanding with the rising power in the West, Rome. That was before. Today, the hall feels different. The space is the same, but the power that fills it has changed its nature. It is heavier, colder, more absolute. You and your fellow Greek envoys from Athens, Sparta, Corinth stand together, but you are not allies. You are competitors in a race to the bottom, each hoping to secure a slightly less ruinous fate for your city than the others. The Roman card, the trump you once held that could make any Macedonian king pause, has been removed from the deck. You have heard the merchants' tales from Italy, tales of a city brought to its knees, its legions annihilated, its spirit broken by the Carthaginian general. You had dismissed them as exaggerations. Then Philip's summons arrived, and you knew the world had tilted on its axis. Philip V of Macedon enters the hall. He is no longer the cautious young king you once knew, the man who balanced ambition with a healthy fear of Roman intervention. The news from Cannae has acted upon him like a potent drug, burning away his caution and leaving only a core of pure, incandescent ambition. He looks at your collection of worried faces and smiles, a predator's smile that does not touch his eyes. He is no longer playing the game of Hellenistic diplomacy. He is ending it. "Friends," he begins, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. "For too long, Hellas has been a house divided. We bicker amongst ourselves while barbarians grow strong. We exhaust our blood and treasure on petty squabbles. The gods have sent us a sign. The arrogant upstarts in Italy, who sought to meddle in our affairs, have been humbled by the genius of Hannibal Barca. The West is consumed by its own affairs. Our time is now. It is the old rhetoric, the dream of his ancestor, Philip II, a united Greece, a Panhellenic crusade. But Alexander the Great's father used that dream to build a coalition. His descendant, Philip V, is using it as a justification for conquest. He lays out his terms. They are not a proposal for an alliance. They are a demand for submission. Your leagues and city-states will be dissolved. You will contribute soldiers and tribute to a new Hellenic army under his absolute command. Your foreign policy will be his foreign policy. You will be Greeks, yes, but you will be his Greeks. The Athenian envoy, a man whose lineage supposedly traces back to Solon, begins to speak of autonomy, of the sacred traditions of democratia. Philip cuts him off. Democracy? Philip scoffs. Your democracy is a squabbling mob that has brought nothing but weakness. Your autonomy is the freedom to starve while your neighbor grows rich. I offer you something greater. I offer you unity. I offer you strength. I offer you a return to glory. You see the ethical tension hanging in the air. For generations, the Greek city-states have prized their independence above all else, fighting savage wars to preserve it. But that independence has led to constant conflict, exhaustion, and vulnerability. Philip offers peace. He offers an end to the endless cycle of interstate warfare. The price is freedom. You look at the faces of the other envoys. Some are pale with rage, but others look weary. They look tempted. Is the chaos of liberty worth defending when the alternative is the ordered security of a gilded cage? Your league, the Aetolians, refuses. You are warriors, mountaineers, proud and untamable. You will not bow to a new master. You send your refusal back to Philip and begin to prepare your defences at the great pass of Thermopylae. It is a place of legend, where Leonidas and his 300 Spartans held back the Persian horde. You hope its name will inspire your men and strike fear into the Macedonian. It does neither. You stand on the heights overlooking the pass as Philip's army approaches. It is not a horde, it is a machine. The Macedonian phalanx, 16 ranks deep, advances in perfect order, a forest of 18-foot sarissas bristling before it. This is the weapon that crushed Athens and Thebes. the weapon that conquered Persia. In your world, its vulnerabilities were exposed by the flexible Roman maniple. In this world, the legion is a fading memory. Against your army of hoplites and light infantry, the phalanx is a relentless grinder of flesh and bone. The battle is short and obscene. Your men fight with the courage of their ancestors. But courage is not enough. The sarissas keep them at a distance, unable to get close enough to use their shorter spears and swords. The companion cavalry, Alexander's hammer, smashes into your flank. It is not a battle. It is an execution. The Battle of Thermopylae, once a symbol of heroic defiance, becomes a footnote in the story of your subjugation. This is Philip's unexpected twist, the lesson he has learned from Hannibal. He does not seek to win over the hearts and minds of the Greeks. He seeks to break their will. After his victory, he does not offer generous terms. He makes an example of the Aetolians. Your cities are garrisoned, your leaders executed, your lands given to Macedonian veterans. The message to the rest of Greece is brutally clear. Submit or be erased. One by one, the remaining cities fall into line. Sparta, a shadow of its former glory, accepts a Macedonian overseer. Athens, the cradle of philosophy, becomes a cultural theme park. Its academies allowed to function only as long as they do not teach defiance. A new power is born. It is not a confederation. It is a centralized, militaristic empire forged in the image of its ruthless king. Philip V is no longer a regional player. He is the hegemon of Hellas, the master of a united Greece. His gaze turns east, to the decaying Seleucid Empire in Asia Minor, and the fabulously wealthy Ptolemaic kingdom in Egypt. These are the true prizes, the lands and riches that Alexander himself claimed. For the first time since the Diadochi Wars that tore Alexander's empire apart, a single Macedonian leader has the power base to dream of reuniting it. From the ashes of Greek liberty, a new Alexandrian empire is poised to rise. But it is a darker, more cynical creation. It is not driven by a vision of cultural fusion, but by the cold, hard logic of power politics. The Mediterranean is now a three-player game. The mercantile empire of Carthage controls the seas and the west. The reborn Macedonian Empire controls the land and the east. And far beyond, the Parthians watch them both, waiting. The world is no longer marching toward a Roman future. It is spiraling into a new, far more volatile age of rival empires. You feel the mountain tremble before you hear it. A low, rhythmic shudder travels up from the soles of your sandals, through your bones, a constant, artificial earthquake. The air is thick with reddish dust that coats your tongue with the taste of metal. This is the Sierra Morena, the backbone of Iberia. In your grandfather's time, this was a wild place, home to spirits and wolves. Now, it is a wound in the earth, a vast, open-air factory of wealth. Before you, a hillside has been peeled back to reveal its glittering guts. Thousands of men, their bodies caked in the same red dust, swarm over it like ants. They are your people, Celtiberians, alongside Gauls, African slaves, and condemned criminals from every corner of the Punic world. This is the source of Carthaginian power. Not the harbour at Carthage, not the fields of Sicily. This, the silver veins of Baal. You are a chieftain of the Turdetani, a tribe whose lands are blessed and cursed with these rich deposits. Your father fought the Carthaginians when they first came with Hannibal's father, Hamilcar. He fought them, and he lost. You, however, have learned a different lesson. You do not fight the masters of the mountain. You serve them. You have come to the great mining city, which the Punics call Carthage, the new city. It is built on a narrow isthmus, guarded by a deep, magnificent harbour. This would have been the target for the Romans. The prize the young general Scipio would have seized to cut the heart out of Carthaginian Iberia. But Scipio is a name no one here has ever heard. He is a ghost from another history, a man who never sailed south, whose legions never crossed the Ebro. In this world, the city's Punic name has never been replaced by the Latin Carthago Nova. It remains what it has always been, the Barcid capital. The city is a testament to a different kind of empire. There are no grand forums, no triumphal arches, no aqueducts built for civic vanity. Every structure is ruthlessly practical. The shipyards and dry docks are the largest you have ever seen, capable of building a warship from keel to mast in under 60 days. The warehouses that line the harbour are cavernous, filled with silver ingots stacked like firewood, waiting for the transport ships that will carry them to Carthage. The temples are not dedicated to civic virtues like Jupiter or Mars. They are dedicated to Melqart, the god of voyagers and adventurers, and to Tanit, the celestial goddess whose symbol, the crescent moon, adorns the city's coins. These are gods of commerce and fortune, not law and order. You are here for your annual audience with the ruler of this land. Not a magistrate sent from Carthage for a limited term, but Hannibal Barca, Hannibal's brother. The Barcid family, the sons of thunder, have not been defeated or scattered. They have won, and Iberia is their reward. They rule this peninsula as a personal fiefdom, a semi-independent kingdom that pays tribute to the Carthaginian Senate but is, in all practical matters, their own. This is the unexpected twist of their victory. Hannibal saved Carthage, but his family has built a new, hereditary power base for itself thousands of miles away. The silver of Iberia pays for Carthage's navy, but it also pays for the Barcids' personal armies, their palaces, their power. You are ushered into Hasdrubal's villa, which overlooks the harbour. He is not clad in a Roman toga. He wears fine, purple-dyed linen, and his beard is oiled and curled in the Phoenician style. His bodyguards are not Carthaginians. They are Iberians, chosen from the fiercest tribes, their loyalty bought with Barcid silver. He greets you in your own language, which he speaks fluently, though with a Punic accent. "Chieftain," he says, gesturing for you to sit. "Your tribute was weighed. It is acceptable. Your levy of warriors is also acceptable. They will fight well in Sardinia." This is the nature of your relationship. It is a simple, brutal transaction. You provide a quota of silver and a quota of young men. In exchange, the Barcids leave you to rule your tribe as you see fit. They do not interfere with your laws, your customs, or your gods. They do not ask you to become Punic. They only ask that the river of silver and soldiers never stops flowing. Here lies the ethical tension of your existence. Under the Romans, your people would have been forced to change. They would have been made to speak Latin, to worship Roman gods, to adopt Roman laws. Your sons would have been conscripted into legions, but they would have been part of an army that built roads, founded cities, and spread a universal idea of citizenship. They would have lost their identity to become part of something larger. Under the Barcids, you keep your identity. You remain Turdetani, but you are not part of anything larger. You are a resource. Your land is a mine. Your people are barracks. You are free in your soul, but your body belongs to the needs of a foreign ledger. Is it better to be a conquered subject in an empire of laws, or a nominally free client in an empire of profit? You look at Hasdrubal, a man who sees your people as a line item in his budget, and you do not have an answer. You see the cultural results of this transactional relationship everywhere. Your warriors have begun to incorporate the worship of Melqart into their own pantheons, seeing him as a powerful god of strength and fortune. Punic merchants in the coastal cities take Iberian wives, creating a new generation of children who are comfortable in both worlds. The Phoenician alphabet, so much simpler than your old, cumbersome script, is being adapted by your priests to write your own language. This is not assimilation. It is a syncretic fusion, a slow blending of cultures driven not by policy but by proximity and commerce. A unique Punic Iberian civilization is taking root, a hybrid of Semitic mercantilism and European tribalism. As you leave the villa, you watch a column of your tribe's young men marching toward the docks. They are not a Roman-style legion, drilled and disciplined into a single fighting unit. They are a warband, clad in their traditional armor, carrying their traditional weapons. They are loud, proud, and fierce. They are on their way to fight and die on some distant island. Not for the defense of their homeland, not for the glory of a republic, but for a contract, signed and paid for in silver mined from their own hills. You look back at the mountain, now silhouetted against the setting Sunday. The constant dull thud of the mining hammers continues, unabated. It is the heartbeat of this new world. The veins of the mountain and the veins of your people are one and the same, and both are being bled to sustain an empire that gives them everything but a future of their own. Your hands are caked in fine white dust, the ghost of a block of Parian marble. With a delicate chisel, you carve the final details into the face of the goddess. It is a face you know well, the serene, benevolent visage of Isis, the all-mother, healer, and queen of heaven. But as you work, you add details that would have been sacrilege a generation ago. On her brow, where the sacred cobra should be, you are instead etching a perfect crescent moon, the symbol of the Punic goddess Tanit. The ankh she holds in one hand is intertwined with a sheaf of grain, a nod to the Greek Demeter, and the inscription on the base, commissioned by your client, a wealthy Iberian silver merchant, is not in Greek or Egyptian hieroglyphs, but in the sharp, angular letters of the Phoenician alphabet. You are a sculptor in Syracuse, a city that has always been a crossroads. Once a jewel of Magna Graecia, it is now a vital port in the Carthaginian maritime empire. Your trade is religion, and business has never been better. You step back to admire your work. It is a masterpiece of syncretism, a goddess for the new age. She is Isis Tanit Demeter, a deity for a world where a man from Gades can make his fortune trading Egyptian grain through a Greek city ruled by Punics. Your client will be pleased. He is not paying for theological purity. He is paying for results. He wants a goddess who understands his supply chains, a celestial protector for his multinational enterprise. This is the spiritual landscape of the world without Rome. The Romans, with their rigid, legalistic approach to faith, are gone as a major influence. Their state religion, a system of public contracts between the Senate and the gods designed to ensure the security of the Republic, is a dead letter. It died on the unlit altar of the Capitoline Hill. What has rushed in to fill the vacuum is not a single new faith, but a chaotic, vibrant, and deeply personal marketplace of belief. Your workshop is a testament to this new world. In one corner, a massive, muscular statue of Melqart, the patron god of Carthaginian explorers and merchants, awaits shipment to a new temple in Capua. He is carved in the heroic Greek style, looking much like Heracles, with whom he has been almost completely fused. Your apprentices are busy casting hundreds of small bronze figurines of Bes, the Egyptian dwarf god, a protector of households who has become wildly popular with sailors of all nationalities. They believe his grotesque face scares away storms and sea monsters. A potential customer enters, a local landowner, a man of old Sicilian stock. His vineyards have been suffering from a blight. He has already sacrificed to the traditional local spirits, with no success. He has come to you for a stronger solution. I hear the Egyptian gods are very powerful in matters of the earth, he says, his eyes scanning the statues in your workshop. For fertility and renewal, none are more powerful than Osiris, you tell him, guiding him toward a finished statue of the green-skinned god of the underworld and rebirth. But, you add, lowering your voice conspiratorially, if the blight is a curse, a matter of ill will from a rival, you might need something stronger. Baal-Hamon is very persuasive. You show him a smaller, darker statue of the great Punic god, depicted as a stern, enthroned figure. There is a sense of immense, implacable power about him. The landowner shivers. He knows the stories. He knows of the Tophet in Carthage, of the sacrifices made in the darkest of times. That kind of power is not to be trifled with. The price for the Osiris? He asks, his choice made. This is the heart of the new faith. It is transactional. Gods are not objects of abstract philosophical contemplation. They are divine specialists, cosmic artisans you hire to solve a specific problem. You do not worship them out of a sense of civic duty, but out of personal need. The relationship is that of a client to a patron. This creates a world of intense but narrow piety. A sailor may be fanatically devoted to Isis Pelagia, Our Lady of the Sea, but care little for the gods of the harvest or the city. The ethical tension of this new world is the slow erosion of a common moral framework. Roman religion, for all its lack of spiritual fire, was inextricably linked to public virtue. Pietas, duty to family, state, and gods. Gravitas, seriousness of purpose. Dignitas, personal honor. These were the values that bound their society together. In this new marketplace of gods, the only universal virtue is success. If a god delivers, they are worthy of worship. If they fail, you find a new one. Morality becomes a private negotiation between a person and their chosen deity. There are 1,000 ways to please the gods, but no single, agreed-upon way to be a good citizen. The unexpected twist is the explosion of mystery cults. With the collapse of the formal, impersonal state religions, people crave a more direct, emotional connection to the divine. The old Olympian gods, who so often seemed like petty, glorified nobles, are either fading into metaphor or being absorbed into more dynamic deities. The real spiritual energy is in the cults of Isis, Mithras, Orpheus, and 100 others. These cults offer what the old state religions never could: a personal savior, secret knowledge, gnosis, elaborate initiation rites that bind the worshippers into a tight-knit community, and the promise of a blessed afterlife. You yourself are an initiate in the cult of Serapis, the brilliant Ptolemaic invention that fused the Egyptian Osiris Apis with Greek gods like Zeus and Hades. Your initiation took place in a subterranean chamber, a symbolic death and rebirth. You experienced things you cannot speak of to the uninitiated. You felt a sense of belonging, of being part of a secret family that spanned the Mediterranean. You felt a peace that the cold, formal temples in the city centre could never provide. This is the great paradox. The fall of organized state religion has not led to secularism. It has led to a fervent, underground spiritual revival, a world of countless small, intense faiths bubbling just beneath the surface of public life. This world is not marching toward monotheism. It is spiraling deeper into a sophisticated, syncretic polytheism. When a Macedonian soldier prays to the Egyptian Thoth for wisdom, when a Carthaginian merchant sacrifices to the Greek Hermes for profit, when an Italian farmer offers a prayer to a hybrid goddess of your own creation, they are not confused. They are participating in a fluid, globalized conversation about the divine, a conversation built on shared needs, not competing dogmas. Your hands, caked in the dust of forgotten gods and newborn ones, are shaping the soul of this new, chaotic, and profoundly devout world. You are standing at the edge of the Roman Forum, a place that is more memory than reality. You remember the stories your grandfather told, stories of this space as the beating heart of a proud and ferocious republic. He spoke of triumphal processions, of captured kings and cartloads of treasure paraded before cheering crowds. He described the solemn dignity of the Senate convening in the Curia, their decisions shaping the fate of nations. He spoke of orators on the rostra, whose words could launch 1,000 ships or raise 10 legions. The rostra is still there, its bronze prows dulled by neglect. But the men who speak from it now are not statesmen. They are demagogues with wild eyes and shrill voices, whipping up hungry crowds with promises of bread they cannot provide and vengeance they cannot deliver. The Curia Hostilia still stands, but its marble steps are stained with graffiti. Inside, old men with famous names bicker not over the governance of an empire, but over the price of grain and the allocation of sewer maintenance contracts. The air, once electric with ambition and power, now hangs heavy and stagnant, thick with the smell of resentment and cheap wine. You are a Roman of the equestrian class. Your family did not have the ancient lineage of the patricians, but they had wealth, earned through contracts to supply the legions. But there are no more great legions to supply. The contracts have dried up. Your family's fortune, like the Republic itself, is a dwindling inheritance, consumed by the daily cost of living in a city that no longer produces anything of value. The sickness that is eating Rome from within has a name: idleness. For centuries, the Republic's engine was expansion. Conquest provided land for the poor, riches for the state, and a common enemy to unite the perpetually warring social classes of patrician and plebeian. That engine has been smashed. The veterans who survived the Punic War did not return to victory parades and plots of fertile land in conquered territory. They returned broken, to farms that had been bought up by wealthy landowners while they were away fighting and dying for the Republic. They now crowd the city's tenements, a vast, unemployed, and angry mass of men skilled in the arts of violence and nursing a deep sense of betrayal. Into this powder keg walks Tiberius Sempronius Gracchus. He is a ghost from a better time, an aristocrat from one of Rome's most distinguished families, a war hero from the minor campaigns that still flicker along the borders of Latium. But unlike his peers, who have retreated into cynical apathy or the management of their vast estates, Tiberius has a dangerous quality. He believes in the idea of Rome. He sees the suffering of the plebeians not as an economic problem, but as a moral stain on the Republic. You see him speak for the first time at a rally near the Temple of Castor and Pollux. He is not a rabble-rouser. He speaks with a patrician's calm authority, but his words are fire. He talks of the Ager Publicus, the public land of the Roman state, won by the blood of generations of soldiers, now illegally occupied by the wealthy few. He proposes a simple, radical solution: the Lex Sempronia Agraria, a law to reclaim this land and redistribute it to the landless poor. It is a just cause, it is a necessary cause, and it is a declaration of war on his own class. The Senate, dominated by the great landholders, is apoplectic. They see Tiberius not as a reformer, but as a traitor, a man who would destroy the state to save the people. They block his legislation, using every procedural trick and ancient tradition at their command. The ethical tension is laid bare in the streets. Is it a greater crime to violate the law to feed the hungry, or to uphold the law to protect the privileges of the rich? Tiberius, driven by a righteous fury, makes a fateful choice. He bypasses the Senate entirely, taking his law directly to the plebeian assembly. It is a move that is technically legal but shatters centuries of political tradition. He is attacking not just the wealth of the patricians but the very foundation of their power. The great landowners, led by the Pontifex Maximus, Publius Cornelius Scipio Nasica, a man whose name evokes a history of glory he can no longer replicate, decide that if tradition will not stop Gracchus, violence will. This is the unexpected twist of Rome's fall. In another world, this conflict would be the first tremor of a century-long earthquake, of civil wars fought by massive armies across the entire Mediterranean for the ultimate prize of empire. But here, there is no empire to fight for. The prize is not the world, it is the decaying city of Rome itself. The conflict does not escalate into grand battles. It festers and rots into street brawls and political assassinations. This is not the glorious fall of a titan. It is the pathetic, squalid death of a broken state. You witness the end from the steps of the Temple of Saturn. Scipio Nasica, his toga wrapped around his arm as a makeshift shield, leads a mob of senators and their clients, armed with clubs and broken furniture, up the Capitoline Hill to confront Tiberius, who is addressing the assembly. There are no legions here. There are only two gangs, fighting over the carcass of the Republic. The brawl is brief and brutal. Tiberius Gracchus and 300 of his supporters are bludgeoned to death. Their bodies are unceremoniously thrown into the Tiber. There is no trial, no public mourning. The sacred hill, where Jupiter's temple stands, is desecrated by the first political murder in the city's history. But it is not the last. The murder of Tiberius does not solve the problem. It only proves that violence is the new language of Roman politics. A decade later, his younger brother, Gaius Gracchus, will take up the cause, a more radical and brilliant politician than Tiberius. He too will be killed, along with thousands of his followers, in an even bloodier massacre. After that, the politics of the city devolve into a permanent, low-grade civil war. Populist leaders, the populares, rise and are murdered. Aristocratic strongmen from the Optimates faction take control and are murdered in turn. The Forum becomes a battlefield for hired gangs. Elections are decided not by votes, but by riots. You learn to survive. You lock your doors at night. You do not walk the streets alone. You pay protection money to whatever faction controls your neighborhood this week. You watch as the great families of Rome, the Cornelii, the Fabii, the Aemilii, names that once made the world tremble, spend their ancestral fortunes not on armies to conquer Gaul, but on thugs to control the Subura. The Curia of Echoes has become a monument to this failure. It is a place where the ghosts of great men watch their descendants squabble over bones. Rome is not a threat to anyone anymore. It is a self-devouring artifact, a city committing suicide in slow motion, its name now a synonym for tragic, intractable decay. The city breathes. You feel it from your villa on the Bursa, the citadel hill that stands at the heart of Carthage. It is not the ragged, shallow breath of a dying patient, like the one you observed in Rome. This is the deep, rhythmic, powerful respiration of a leviathan. In the morning, it is a great inhale. The fishing fleets returning with the night's catch, the caravans arriving from the desert's edge, the first merchant ships catching the tide. In the evening, it is a slow exhale, the smoke from 100,000 cooking fires, the murmur of a dozen languages drifting up from the taverns, the rhythmic clang of hammers from the shipyards working late into the night. You are Himilco, a member of the 104, the tribunal of judges that serves as Carthage's supreme council. Your family is ancient, their wealth rooted in the vast agricultural estates of the Tunisian hinterland. You are old money, a guardian of tradition. From your vantage point, you can see the twin hearts of your city, the two harbours that are the source of its lifeblood. The outer harbour is a rectangle of bustling chaos, a forest of masts from Iberia, Sicily, Egypt, and the wild, tin-bearing coasts of the north. The inner harbour, the Cauthon, is a perfect circle of military precision, a sheltered dockyard where 220 warships lie in their slips like scorpions in their nests, their bronze rams gleaming. The world has tilted. Its axis no longer runs through the Tiber or the hills of Greece. The centre of gravity, the point to which all wealth and power flows, is here. It is this city, this stretch of North African coast. The Maghreb is no longer the southern periphery of a European world. It is the core. You descend from the quiet opulence of the Bursa into the city proper. The streets are narrow, winding, and clean. Multi-story apartment buildings, some 6 stories high, press in on either side, their whitewashed walls providing shade from the African Sunday. The language you hear is Punic, the lingua franca, not of poets or philosophers, but of contracts, cargo manifests, and interest rates. It is a language of practicality, of getting things done. Your destination is the meeting hall of the 104. Today's agenda contains a single item, a proposal from a new faction that is rising within the city's elite. They are not like you. Their money is not old and tied to the land. It is new, metallic, and smells of the sea. They are the Silver Lords, the men who have grown obscenely wealthy from the Barcid mines in Iberia. They are led by a man named Mago, a merchant prince whose personal fortune is said to rival the treasury of the Ptolemaic kings. Mago's proposal is audacious to the point of madness. He wishes to fund a massive state expedition, the largest in Carthaginian history, not north or east into the crowded, quarrelsome world of the Mediterranean, but south, down the coast of Africa, past the pillars of Melqart, into the unknown waters of the great outer ocean. His goal, to establish a direct sea route to the sources of the gold, ivory, and exotic woods that currently trickle into Carthage via the perilous trans-Saharan caravan routes. He speaks of circumnavigating Africa. As the debate begins, you see the city's core conflict laid bare. This is not about geography. It is about the soul of Carthage. You and the other traditionalists, the landowners, stand to speak. You argue for caution. Our strength lies in the sea we know. You state, your voice calm and measured. We control the western Mediterranean. Our garrisons hold Sicily and Sardinia. Our clients in Italy pay their tribute. The Macedonian king is a problem, but a distant one. Why would we squander our treasure and our ships on a fool's errand into a world of monsters and boiling seas, based on the half-crazed tales of desert nomads? Your argument is one of stability. The current system works. It is profitable. It is secure. This venture is a gamble of unprecedented scale. Then Mago rises to speak. He is younger, brimming with a restless energy that makes you uncomfortable. He is not a statesman. He is a speculator. The Honourable Himilco speaks of the sea we know. Mago begins, his voice sharp and compelling. I speak of the seas we do not. The world is larger than this pond. He gestures dismissively, as if the entire Mediterranean is a minor inconvenience. The silver from Iberia has given us capital that no empire in history has ever possessed. Capital is like a shark. It must move or it dies. You are content to be farmers, to count your olive trees, We choose to be explorers, to count new markets. His supporters, the new rich, shout their approval. The ethical tension becomes clear. Is the purpose of a state to provide stability and preserve a way of life? Or is its purpose to relentlessly pursue growth and profit, no matter the risk? Your faction represents prudence and order. Magot's faction represents a new, aggressive, and global form of capitalism. It is the struggle between old wealth and venture capital, played out for the fate of an empire. The unexpected twist is how Magot frames his final argument. He does not just appeal to greed, he appeals to Carthaginian identity itself. For centuries we paid tribute to the Tyre of our ancestors, he proclaims. We were the colony. Now Tyre is a provincial port in the Macedonian sphere. We are the centre of the Punic world, but we still think like colonists. We hug the shores, we follow the old routes. It is time we acted like the metropolis we are. It is time we built an empire, not on the Roman model of legions and laws, but on our own terms. An empire of the sea, an empire of trade, routes that span the globe. Let Philip have his dusty acres in Asia. We will have the oceans. He is offering them a new manifest destiny, a Punic one, not of conquest, but of commerce, not to rule the world, but to own its supply chains. The vote is held. You watch as hands are raised. Your faction is solid, but the Silver Lords have been generous with their new wealth. They have bought allies, promised shares in the new venture, funded the campaigns of younger magistrates. When the count is finished, the result is clear. Magot's proposal is approved. You walk back to your villa. As the sun sets, casting the Cothan and the commercial harbour in a deep orange glow, you have lost. A fundamental shift has occurred. The cautious, aristocratic republic of merchants is dying. A new, far more dynamic and rapacious global corporation is being born. Carthage has turned its face away from Europe, away from the old rivalries with Rome and Greece that defined its history. It has turned south, to Africa, and west, to the great unknown. The Maghreb is ascendant, not just as a place of power, but as a source of ideas. The idea that a civilization's greatness is measured not by the territory it conquers or the art it produces, but by the wealth it accumulates. It is a powerful, seductive, and dangerous idea. From your hill, you hear the breathing of the city change. It is faster now, more excited, the breath of a predator that has just caught the scent of a new and unimaginably vast hunting ground. The air inside the great roundhouse at Bibracte smells of wood smoke, wet wool, and old power. A fire pit in the centre throws flickering shadows against the timbered walls, illuminating the faces of the assembled chieftains. You see the hard lines of warriors, the shrewd eyes of merchants, the weathered faces of farmers who have been chosen to speak for their clans. They are the Aedui and their allies, the lords of central Gaul. Outside, beyond the stone and timber ramparts of this sprawling oppidum, lie the unconquered forests. They are not the dark, primeval wilderness imagined by the soft men of the south. They are a managed landscape of woods, pastures, and fiercely guarded borders, the heartland of a people who have never known a foreign master. You are a druid. Your white robes mark you as a man apart, a member of the only order that transcends the brutal, beautiful chaos of tribal politics. You are a judge, a philosopher, a keeper of the sacred histories that are not written in books but in the endless verses of memory. Your authority comes not from a sword or a purse, but from the ancient wisdom you carry. And today, that wisdom is being tested. You have travelled for a month to be here, to this council. In another world, a gathering like this would have one purpose: to forge an alliance against the iron tide of Roman legions pouring over the Alps. In this world, the Romans are a bitter joke, a cautionary tale of a city that devoured itself. The great threat to the Gallic peoples is not an external empire. It is themselves. The topic of the council is a man named Celtillus, the chieftain of the Arverni. His name is on everyone's lips. He is young, charismatic, and has done the unthinkable. He has united the quarrelsome clans of the Gergovia Plateau into a disciplined army. He has hired Greek engineers, paid for with Arverni gold, to improve his fortresses. He has sent emissaries to the tribes allied with the Aedui, speaking not of raids and plunder, but of a new vision. A Gaul where the Arverni are the first among equals, the protectors of a new order. This is the unexpected twist of your history. Without the existential threat of Rome to unite them, the Gauls have turned their considerable energy for warfare and political intrigue inward. The endemic, small-scale raiding of your ancestors has evolved into something far more sophisticated and far more dangerous. A continental Cold War. The Aedui Confederation and the Arverni Confederation are locked in a struggle for the soul of Gaul. They build bigger oppida, forge better iron swords, and compete for the loyalty of the lesser tribes. They are not becoming Romans. They are becoming something entirely new, something uniquely Celtic, a network of rival kingdoms teetering on the brink of total war. An old Aeduan chieftain, his face a mask of scars, stands to speak. Celtillus is a snake. He speaks of unity, but his fangs are dripping with Arverni ambition. He woos our allies with promises of low tribute, but he is forging a chain to bind them. We must march on Gergovia now, before his power grows unbreakable. There are shouts of agreement. The warrior spirit runs deep in your people. The call to battle is a song they have known since birth. But then a merchant from a tribe on the river Saône stands. And who will buy our iron while our young men are dying in the south? The Punic traders will not come if the riverlands are a war zone. My trade with the great city of Massalia depends on the peace the Aedui have kept. He speaks of Massalia, the ancient Greek port on the southern coast. It remains independent, a neutral ground for trade, a window onto the wider world. Through it, the luxuries of the south trickle north. Carthaginian wine in distinctive clay amphorae, fine Macedonian cloth, Egyptian glass beads. In return, a river of Gallic iron, amber, and, most grimly, slaves flows south. The Carthaginians have no interest in conquering these forests. They are merchants, not imperialists in the Roman mould. They are happy to let the Gauls fight amongst themselves, so long as the flow of goods is not interrupted. You are called upon to speak. As a druid, your duty is to the balance of things, to the sacred laws that govern both men and nature. You rise, and a hush falls over the hall. You speak of war as if it were a season, like planting or harvest. You begin, your voice quiet but carrying to every corner of the roundhouse. Have you forgotten the lessons of the ancestors? The strength of the forest is the tree. But the strength of the tree is the root. Our roots are the same. We pray to the same gods. Our children hear the same stories. To send Aeduan warriors against Arverni warriors is to take an axe to our own roots. You speak for a long time, invoking the shared laws, the kinship ties, the disastrous consequences of a full-scale civil war. You are not arguing for peace out of weakness. You are arguing for it out of wisdom. Here lies the ethical tension of your world. You have your freedom. Your culture is vibrant, alive. The bards compose epic poems that will never be silenced by Latin prose. Your craftsmen create the intricate, swirling metalwork of the Latin style, a unique artistic expression of your people's soul. Your sacred groves have not been cut down to make way for Roman temples. All this was saved from the eagle's shadow. But the price of this cultural survival is political stagnation. The very freedom you cherish prevents the unity that would make you truly strong. You are a people defined not by what you are, but by what you are not. You are not conquered. This freedom is a glorious, beautiful, and ultimately self-destructive cage. You have avoided becoming Roman only to be trapped in an endless cycle of being Gallic. Your words have an effect. You propose a solution, a temporary one. A great gathering of druids from across all of Gaul to be held at the sacred grove of the Carnutes. There, the dispute between the Aedui and the Arverni will be mediated according to the ancient laws. It is a way to delay the war, to pull everyone back from the brink. The chieftains, swayed by the weight of tradition and the fear of the gods whose laws you represent, reluctantly agree. As you leave the great hall, you look out over the city of Bibracte. It is a marvel of Celtic engineering, a testament to your people's ingenuity. Below, in the artisan quarters, the clang of 1,000 hammers rings out, forging the swords that may one day be used against their brothers. You have won them a season of peace, perhaps a year. But you know that the ambition of men like Celtillus and the pride of warriors like the Aedui are forces stronger than your words. The unconquered forests are safe from outsiders, but no druidic magic can protect them from the divisions that grow within. You have preserved the soul of your people, but in doing so, you may have doomed them to a future of endless, noble, and utterly tragic fratricide. You are tracing the curve of a Hebrew letter with a reed pen, the dark ink bleeding slightly into the rough papyrus. The letter is Yod, the smallest in the alphabet, yet from it all others are born. Your master, a Pharisee rabbi of the school of Hillel, says that to understand the small things is to understand the universe. You are a scribe in Jerusalem, a city that breathes dust and divinity. From the window of your small room, you can see the morning sun glinting off the white marble of the Temple Mount, a sight of such sublime beauty it makes your chest ache. This is a city of factions, of ancient arguments and simmering resentments. The Sadducees, the priestly aristocracy, grow rich from the temple trade and their cozy relationship with the Parthian governor who watches over the province from his citadel in Damascus. The Pharisees, your people, argue for a life of ritual purity and devotion to the law that can be lived by any Jew, not just the priests. The zealots whisper of rebellion in the alleyways, dreaming of a new Maccabean revolt to throw off even the light-touch rule of the Eastern Empire. And then there are the others, the smaller sects, the followers of this mystic or that would-be prophet. Your master has given you a task. He wants you to compile a record of these smaller movements, not for condemnation but for understanding. We cannot know the health of the body of Israel without knowing all its limbs, even the ones that twitch with fever, he said. And so, you find yourself in the lower city, in the crowded, sun-starved streets where the poor live, seeking out a group known as the Nazarenes. You know the stories. Everyone does. Some 40 years ago, a Galilean preacher, a man named Yeshua ben Yosef, gathered a following. He was a worker of wonders, a teller of parables, a harsh critic of the temple elite. He was executed by the high priest's guard for sedition, a common enough fate for men who draw crowds and speak of a coming kingdom. His followers, however, claimed he was resurrected from his tomb. They claimed he was the Mashiach, the Anointed One, the promised Messiah. You find them in a simple stone house, gathered around a man with a carpenter's hands, and a profound, weary sadness in his eyes. He is Yaakov, the brother of the dead preacher. They call him the Just. He is the leader of the Jerusalem assembly. They share a simple meal of bread and fish. They speak only in Aramaic, the common tongue of Judea. Their piety is deep, passionate, and profoundly Jewish. They argue about the proper interpretation of a passage from Isaiah. They debate the rules of kashrut. They pray with the fierce intensity of a people who believe the end of days is not a distant prophecy, but an imminent event. You listen for hours. The message of their dead master is one of radical love, of forgiveness, of a kingdom not of this world. It is powerful, it is beautiful, and it is going nowhere. The reason is simple. A logistical fact, as solid and immovable as the foundation stone of the temple. The message is trapped. It is trapped by language. They speak of their Yeshua, but to the wider world, he has no name. The traders in the market, the Parthian soldiers, the Greek architects rebuilding the mansions of the Sadducees, they all speak Koine Greek. But the Nazarenes have made no systematic effort to translate their master's words, to frame his ideas in the philosophical language of the Hellenistic world. To them, to do so would be a betrayal, a watering down of the pure, Semitic truth of his revelation. It is also trapped by geography. You listen to a young, fiery-eyed man named Shimon, whom they call Kepha, the rock. He speaks of a vision he had, that the message should be taken to the Goyim, the Gentiles. The others, led by the conservative Yaakov, are skeptical. Their master was the Jewish Messiah, sent to redeem the nation of Israel. To take his message to the uncircumcised is a radical, almost unthinkable step. In another world, a man named Saul of Tarsus would have been the bridge. A Hellenized Jew, a Roman citizen, fluent in the rhetoric of the Stoics. He would have taken this provincial Jewish message and repackaged it for a global audience. He would have travelled on safe Roman roads, protected by Roman law, visiting the well-established Jewish diaspora communities in the great cities of a unified Roman Empire. Antioch, Corinth, Ephesus, Rome itself. He would have been the catalyst, the spark that turned a local sect into a world religion. But in this world, there is no Roman Empire to provide the infrastructure for evangelism. The roads are managed by a dozen different kingdoms and city-states. Travel is dangerous. There is no common legal framework, no universal citizenship. The Jewish diaspora is scattered and disconnected, pockets of communities living under Macedonian, Carthaginian, or Parthian rule. There is no Saul of Tarsus, because the world that would have created such a man does not exist. The bridge was never built. You witness the consequence of this firsthand. A few days later, you see one of the more zealous Nazarenes, a man from Cyprus, attempt to preach near the Jaffa Gate, where foreign merchants congregate. He stands on a crate and speaks in clumsy, heavily accented Greek. He tells the story of the resurrection. His audience, a few curious onlookers, are not hostile. They are baffled. A man who died and came back to life? Their own myths are full of such tales. Dionysus, Osiris. But this man claims his resurrected God is the only God? The concept is alien. His words, stripped of their Jewish context, sound like the ravings of a madman. A fat merchant from Alexandria laughs, not cruelly, but with genuine amusement. "Another rustic god," he says to his companion. "They grow them on the trees in this part of the world." The preacher is not martyred. He is not arrested. He is ignored. He eventually gives up, his shoulders slumped in defeat. This is the unexpected twist. The world does not reject the message of Jesus with rage and violence. It greets it with a shrug. The ethical tension here is a profound one. By remaining a small, insular, Aramaic-speaking sect, the Nazarenes have preserved the authenticity of their master's teachings. They have not compromised with Greek philosophy or Roman power structures. They have kept the faith pure. But in doing so, they have ensured its irrelevance. They possess what they believe to be the most important news in the history of the world. but they lack the means and perhaps the will to tell anyone. Is a truth that is never heard still a truth? They have chosen purity over reach, and the consequence is that their Messiah will save no one outside their own small circle. You return to your master and give your report. He listens patiently. They are devout men, he says, stroking his beard. They are drunk on a powerful dream, but it is a dream for Israel alone. The world will not hear of it. They will be a footnote in the history of our people, a strange, beautiful, but ultimately barren branch on the great tree of the law. You know he is right. The word was spoken in the hills of Galilee, but the great, unifying silence of a universal empire was not there to carry it to the ends of the earth. It remains here, a whisper in a single language, in a single province, a promise of salvation for a world that will never even know it was offered. You are in the heart of the world's mind, the city of Alexandria. The air itself feels different here, thinner, sharper, scented not with the sweat of legions or the dust of politics, but with the dry, sweet perfume of aging papyrus and the distant salt tang of the sea. You walk down the Canopic Way, a street so wide that 4 chariots could ride abreast. It is a river of humanity, flowing between banks of gleaming white marble colonnades. You hear Greek spoken in a dozen accents, the guttural sounds of Egyptian priests, the sharp clicks of Nubian traders, the soft sibilance of Parthian diplomats. Above it all, a single, unwavering needle of light pierces the sky. The Pharos, the great lighthouse, a testament to the power of geometry and fire. You are a student at the Museum, the great research institute founded by the first Ptolemies, and your life is a devotion to knowledge. You do not study to become a lawyer or an administrator. Such professions are for lesser minds. You study to understand the cosmos. The great library, an organic part of the Museum, is your temple and your home. You have spent weeks in its halls, unrolling scrolls that hold the minds of Aristotle, the theorems of Euclid, the histories of Herodotus. It is not a warehouse of books. It is a living brain, constantly growing, arguing with itself, pushing at the very boundaries of the knowable. This institution, this city, is experiencing a golden age. The reason is simple: patronage and peace. The Ptolemaic kings, flush with the agricultural wealth of the Nile and unchallenged by any Western threat, pour money into the Museum as a matter of state policy and personal pride. They see themselves not as conquerors, but as the rightful heirs to Alexander's intellectual legacy. Their rivalry with the new Macedonian Empire of Philip V is fought not just with armies and fleets, but with poets and mathematicians. They seek to prove the supremacy of their dynasty by proving the supremacy of the minds they sponsor. This is the world shielded from Rome. The Romans, your teachers tell you with a dismissive wave of the hand, were brilliant plumbers. They built roads, aqueducts, and siege engines. They were masters of the practical, the mundane, the application of force. They would have bled the library dry, taking its scholars to engineer better catapults and its astronomers to calculate more favourable campaign seasons. They valued knowledge only for its use. Here, knowledge is valued for its beauty. You see this beauty everywhere. In the Hall of Maps, you watch geographers, disciples of the great Eratosthenes, meticulously compiling travellers' reports and astronomical observations to refine his calculation of the Earth's circumference. They argue fiercely over a discrepancy of a few hundred stadia. They are not trying to create a map for an invading army. They are trying to create a perfect image of the world as a matter of pure, intellectual satisfaction. In the observatories, astronomers, armed with improved dioptra and armillary spheres, are cataloguing the stars with a precision that would have astonished Hipparchus. They have identified anomalies in the orbits of the planets, leading to the development of complex new mathematical models that challenge the old certainties of perfect celestial circles. They are peeling back the skin of the universe, one equation at a time. But the most brilliant mind in Alexandria, the man whom everyone, from the king to the dock workers, speaks of with awe, is Heron. He is an inventor, a mathematician, a physicist, a man who seems to channel the very mind of Hephaestus. Today, he is giving a public demonstration of his latest creations, and you have secured a place in the crowded lecture hall. First, he displays his automata. He sets up a small model of a temple. He lights a fire on the altar before it. As the air in the altar heats and expands, it pushes water from a hidden container through a siphon, which acts as a counterweight. Slowly, with a collective gasp from the audience, the temple doors swing open as if by divine will. It is magic, achieved through mechanics. He demonstrates other wonders. A puppet theatre powered by falling sand. A fountain that flows in mesmerizing, cyclical patterns. Then, he brings out his final invention. It is a simple thing. A metal sphere mounted on a boiler, with two bent nozzles pointing in opposite directions. He lights a fire under the boiler. Water heats. Steam is produced, and it rushes out of the nozzles. The sphere begins to spin, slowly at first, then faster and faster, until it is a blur, emitting a high-pitched whistle. It is the Aeolipile, the first steam engine. The crowd erupts in applause. It is the most marvelous toy they have ever seen. A philosophical curiosity, a brilliant demonstration of the principles of pneumatics. Heron himself smiles, basking in the admiration. And this is the unexpected twist, the profound, tragic irony of the Alexandrian Zenith. You are looking at the birth of the Industrial Revolution. It is right there, spinning on a pedestal, and absolutely nothing will come of it. It does not occur to Heron, or to the king, or to the wealthiest merchant in the audience, to attach this spinning sphere to a cart, a pump, or a grinding wheel. The thought simply does not enter their minds. Why would it? If you need to grind 1,000 bushels of wheat, you buy more slaves. Slave labor is cheap, abundant, and requires no complex maintenance. There is no economic incentive to create a labor-saving device. More than that, there is a cultural barrier as solid as the Pharos itself. The men of the Museum are gentlemen and philosophers. They work with their minds. Manual labor, commerce, the grubby business of making and doing that, is for the lower classes. To turn this elegant demonstration of natural philosophy into a machine for doing work would be seen as a vulgar degradation of the intellectual pursuit. Knowledge is for enlightening the mind, not for dirtying the hands. The ethical tension of this world is staggering. Here, in this one city, is a concentration of intellectual power that rivals any in human history. They have calculated the size of the planet. They are mapping the machinery of the heavens. They have harnessed the power of steam. Yet, just outside the walls of the Museum, you see men and women bent double under the sun, pulling water from the Nile, with the same simple shuddufs their ancestors used 3,000 years ago. The docks are loaded and unloaded by the straining muscles of human beings. The great pyramids, monuments to a civilization of brilliant engineers, were built with levers, ramps, and sweat. This new, more brilliant civilization has not improved on that. You leave the demonstration feeling a strange mix of exhilaration and despair. You have witnessed a miracle, the taming of a new element, the creation of a force that could remake the world. But it will remain a novelty, a toy for the elite. The great minds of Alexandria have measured the world, but they have no interest in changing it. They have achieved a sterile perfection, a zenith that is also a beautiful gilded cage. The knowledge is here, but the will to apply it is absent. The engine has been invented, but the world it might have created will never be born. You are watching the dust. It rises in a pale brown column against the endless blue of the Mesopotamian sky, a telltale sign that has been the herald of kings and conquerors in this land for 3,000 years. From your vantage point on the walls of Ctesiphon, the winter capital of the Parthian Empire, you watch the approach of a long, glittering snake of men and horses. They are not an invading army. They are a diplomatic delegation, and the extravagance of their train is the first move in a subtle and deadly game. You are a sparbod, a marshal of the Parthian army, and a member of the Megastanes, the council of nobles that advises the King of Kings. Your face is leathered by the sun of 100 campaigns, your hands calloused from the grip of a composite bow. Your world is the vast expanse between the Euphrates and the Hindu Kush, a chessboard of deserts, mountains, and ancient cities. For generations, the game on this board had a simple, brutal logic. Hold the West against the relentless pressure of Rome. But Rome is a broken toy. The news of its collapse, carried along the Silk Road by caravans of chattering merchants, took months to arrive and was at first dismissed as fantasy. Now, it is the central, immovable fact of your strategic reality. The monolithic threat in the West has vanished, shattered into pieces. This has not brought peace. It has brought complexity. The delegation approaching your city is Macedonian, sent by Philip V. They come bearing gifts. Exquisite Greek statuary, barrels of fine wine, a dozen scholars from Athens meant to impress your king with Hellenic wisdom. Their leader, a smooth-tongued courtier named Pantheon, will speak of eternal friendship, of a shared heritage dating back to Alexander's conquest, of a natural alliance between the two great land empires of the world. He will propose a formal treaty, a pact to divide the decaying remnants of the Seleucid kingdom between them. You will listen to his pretty words, and you will know them for lies. Your agents in Antioch and Damascus have already sent word of Philip's true intentions. He does not want an ally. He wants a compliant eastern border, while he consolidates his power in Anatolia and Syria. The scholars he brings are not gifts. They are spies. Next month, another delegation will arrive. They will come not by land, but by sea, sailing up the Euphrates from the Persian Gulf. They will be Carthaginians, representatives of the mercantile empire that now dominates the western seas. They will not bring statues or philosophers. They will bring ledgers and contracts. They will offer to fund the expansion of your port at Charax, to provide Punic naval architects to improve your ships, to grant you preferential access to the markets of the Indian Ocean, which their new African trade routes are beginning to dominate. In exchange, they want one thing: an exclusive contract to ship Parthian silk and spices to the Mediterranean. They want to cut the Macedonians out of the lucrative overland trade. They too will speak of friendship. They too will be lying. This is the new Parthian reality. You are no longer the bulwark against a single, predictable enemy. You are the pivot point in a multipolar world. The King of Kings, Arsaces III, sits at the center of a great geopolitical chessboard, and the pieces are Carthage and Macedon. In the council chamber, the debate rages. The Hellenized factions, nobles who still speak Greek and admire the culture of the Seleucids you displaced, argue for the Macedonian alliance. We are an Aryan people, as are they, says one old satrap from Media. Our destiny lies with the inheritors of Alexander. The Carthaginians are Semitic traders, moneylenders. They have no honor. Then another faction speaks, the traditionalists, the lords of the great nomadic tribes, who form the core of your cavalry. Honor does not fill the treasury, sneers a chieftain from the Darhai clan, his Pahlavi accent thick. The Greeks want our land. The Punics want our goods. It is a better bargain. We should take their silver and use it to build 1,000 more horse archers to guard the Zagros passes. Here is the ethical tension. Do you align your empire based on a perceived cultural affinity, a shared history, however violent, with the Greeks? Or do you embrace a purely transactional, pragmatic relationship with the Carthaginians, a people with whom you have nothing in common but a shared interest in profit? Is an empire a cultural project or a business enterprise? You rise to speak, and your counsel is different from both. Why must we be the client of either? You ask, your voice low and dangerous. We are Parthia. We are the riders who broke the Seleucid phalanx, the archers who can blot out the Sunday. We are not a prize to be won. We are the hand that moves the pieces. You propose a new grand strategy, one of radical duplicity. You will sign a non-aggression pact with the Macedonians, lulling them into a false sense of security in the north. You will give them just enough assurances to encourage them to turn their full attention to their rivalries in Egypt and the Aegean. At the same time, you will sign a trade agreement with the Carthaginians, taking their money and technical expertise, but you will not grant them exclusivity. You will use their investment to build up your own maritime capacity, to become a player in the Indian Ocean in your own right. You will play them against each other. You will feed the Macedonian king intelligence about Carthaginian naval movements. You will sell the Carthaginians information about weak points in the Macedonian supply lines. You will bleed them both, slowly, patiently, making them dependent on your goodwill, while you grow strong on their rivalry. This is the unexpected twist of the post-Roman world. The power vacuum has not been filled by a new hegemon. It has been filled by chaos, and in chaos, the master of manipulation is king. The Parthian Empire, once a defensive, inward-looking state, is forced by circumstance to become the most sophisticated and cynical diplomatic power in the world. Your strategy is adopted. It is a policy that requires a steady hand, a cold heart, and a vast network of spies. It turns your court into a nest of vipers, where Macedonian and Carthaginian envoys bribe your nobles and plot against each other in the torchlit corridors. But it works. Years pass. The Macedonians, feeling secure on their eastern flank, launch a costly and ultimately indecisive war against the Ptolemies for control of the Levant. The Carthaginians, their profits from the silk trade squeezed by your new tariffs, are forced to spend immense sums trying to secure their African sea lanes from pirates sponsored, secretly, by you. And Parthia thrives. You use the influx of wealth to fortify your cities, to pay for innovations in metallurgy that produce stronger armor and deadlier arrowheads for your cataphracts. You are no longer just a barrier. You are a power broker. The dust you see on the horizon is no longer a sign of a coming threat. It is the sign of another supplicant, another piece in the game, coming to pay court to the kingmakers of the East. You have turned the fall of Rome into the foundation of a new, cunning, and uniquely Parthian supremacy. The wind that comes through the pillars of Melqart is different. You have tasted every wind the Great Sea has to offer. The hot, sandy sirocco off the Libyan coast, the treacherous, swirling tramontane in the Gulf of Lion, the gentle Meltemi of the Aegean. They are all winds of a known world, winds that smell of familiar lands. But this wind, the one that blows from the west, from the endless, grey expanse of the outer ocean, smells of nothing. It is the clean, cold, terrifying scent of the unknown. and you have been in love with it since you were a boy. You are Adherbal, a captain in the merchant fleet of Gades, the oldest and westernmost of the Phoenician cities. Your new ship, the Sea Serpent, rides at anchor in the harbour, her timbers still smelling of fresh pitch and pine. She is your masterpiece, not a lumbering, round-hulled gorlos built for hauling amphorae, nor a slender, vicious warship built for ramming. She is something new, a hybrid, built for range and resilience. Her sail plan, a daring combination of Punic and Egyptian designs, meant to catch even the faintest of breezes. She was built for one purpose: to sail west, past the setting sun, and not stop. Today, you will ask the Merchant Council of Gades to fund your dream. Your father-in-law, Bomilcar, one of the most powerful men on the council, has secured you a hearing. He thinks he is indulging a youthful fantasy that will be quickly and painlessly crushed. He does not understand that this is not a fantasy. It is your destiny. You stand before the council in the House of Commerce, a low stone building that smells of cedarwood and money. The men who sit before you are not soldiers or aristocrats. They are the chief executive officers of the Atlantic trade. They control the flow of tin from the northern islands, the amber from the great forests, the salted fish that feeds half the Punic world. Their faces are hard. Their eyes are the eyes of men who can calculate a 3% margin in their heads. You make your pitch. You speak of the old legends, the Phoenician tales of lands beyond the sunset. You speak of the logic of geography. The world is a sphere. Eratosthenes proved it. If you sail west, you must eventually find land. You speak of new markets, new resources, a new world to bring into the commercial embrace of Carthage. You speak with the fire of a true believer. When you finish, there is a long silence. Then Bomilcar, your father-in-law, clears his throat. He does not look at you. He addresses the council. My son-in-law is a fine captain, he begins, his voice devoid of warmth, and an excellent dreamer. The council thanks him for his poetry. A few of the merchants chuckle. Now, let us speak of business. He picks up a scroll from the table before him. The dreamer speaks of a new world. I speak of the one we have. Our joint venture with the capital, the African Expeditionary Fleet, is nearly ready to launch. Its mission is not based on legend, but on reports from our Saharan trade partners. It has a concrete goal: to establish a sea route to the gold markets of the south, to bypass the nomads and their endless tariffs. The initial investment is 20,000 silver shekels. The projected return, if a route is secured, is over 1 million. These are numbers. They are real. He then unrolls another scroll. This is a copy of the log of Hanno the Navigator, from our city's archives, who made the last great voyage into the outer ocean 4 centuries ago. What did he find? He found jungles that burned, rivers full of crocodiles, and hairy men who threw stones and could not be captured. He returned with 2 animal skins and a great deal of debt. His voyage was a magnificent failure. It proved one thing: the unknown is a poor investment. This is the Carthaginian mind, the soul of their mercantile empire, laid bare. Exploration is not a noble pursuit. It is a line item on a ledger. If the risk outweighs the probable reward, the venture is illogical. The Romans conquered for glory, the Macedonians for power. The Carthaginians invest for profit. The concept of a voyage of pure discovery is, to them, a form of madness. Here is the ethical tension of your world, sharp as a shard of obsidian. This hard-headed pragmatism is the source of Carthage's stability and immense prosperity. It is a society that does not waste its resources or its people's lives on glorious, uncertain gambles. But this same virtue is a cage. It chokes the spirit of inquiry, the irrational, magnificent human urge to see what lies over the horizon simply because it is there. Your civilization has become so successful, so efficient, that it has lost the capacity for glorious failure. And without the freedom to fail, true discovery is impossible. You try to argue. Hanno sailed south, into the burning zones. I would sail west, on the temperate winds. Bomilcar sighs, the sound of a patient man explaining a simple truth to a child. And what is west? Adherbal. We have fished those waters for 1,000 years. 100 miles out, the currents become strange, the winds unpredictable. The fish disappear. There is nothing but water. Endless, empty, profitless water. You ask us to risk a ship, a crew, a fortune, to sail into nothing, while the African gold, which we know exists, waits for us to the south. The vote is a formality. Your proposal is rejected, not with anger, but with a kind of weary pity. The dream is over. But the final blow comes after the meeting, when Bomilcar puts a heavy hand on your shoulder. Do not be downcast, my boy. Your passion has not gone unnoticed. In fact, your ship has caused quite a stir. You look at him, confused. The sea serpent, he says with a smile. The naval architects for the African fleet have examined her. They say she is the finest long-range vessel ever built in this city. Her design is perfect for the coastal winds of the southern continent. A cold dread begins to creep up your spine. The council has voted to requisition her for the expedition, Bomilcar declares, as if he is giving you a great honor. She will be the flagship. We are even giving you a bonus for your brilliant design. A reliable senior captain, Hamilcar the Elder, will be given command. It is a dangerous voyage, far too important for a young man with his head full of myths. This is the unexpected twist, the final, brutal irony. Your dream has not just been denied, it has been cannibalized. The very tool you forged to break the boundaries of the world will now be used to reinforce them. The ship you built to sail into the sunset will instead hug a known coastline on a glorified trading mission. Your ambition has been turned into an asset for the very system you sought to defy. You stand on the quay a month later and watch them load the sea serpent. They pack her not with instruments for charting unknown stars, but with trade goods, cheap bronze mirrors, coloured glass beads, bolts of common cloth to barter with the southern tribes. You watch Hamilcar the Elder, a fat, complacent man whose only skill is caution, walk up the gangplank. He does not even glance at the western horizon. His eyes are fixed south. The fleet sails on the morning tide. They do not turn west. They turn east, to pass through the pillars of Melqart, and then hook south, to begin their long, slow, profitable journey down the coast of Africa. The pillars, the gateway that for you represented an escape, have become a wall, a boundary marker for the edge of the world's imagination. The Atlantic Ocean, which in another history would become a highway for conquerors and pilgrims, remains a void, and you, the man who might have been Columbus, are left standing on the shore, your pockets full of silver and your heart full of the bitter taste of a world that chose the ledger over the horizon. You run your fingers over the two scrolls laid side by side on your work table. The one on the left is old, the papyrus brittle, and the colour of saffron. The ink is a faded brown, the characters sharp and angular. The ancient Punic script of the city's founders. It is a treatise on maritime contract law, written by a Suffet of Carthage 3 centuries ago, a masterpiece of commercial jurisprudence. The scroll on the right is new, the parchment creamy white, the ink a deep, lustrous black. The script is Arabic, flowing and elegant. It is your own hand. You are a translator, a scholar in the great Beit al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom in the city of Carthage. The city is still Carthage, but it has a new name, a new master, a new god. Yet, as you work, translating the cold, hard logic of Punic commercial law into the poetic cadences of Arabic, you are participating in the creation of a new soul for the world. You are not merely translating words, you are grafting the mind of a dead empire onto the body of a living one. It has been 70 years since the armies of the Caliphate arrived. They came not from the north, across the sea, but from the east, a sandstorm of men and horses that blew out of the deserts of Arabia and Egypt. They were a force the world had not seen before. They did not fight for silver or for territory, but for God. Their faith was a thing of terrifying simplicity. One God, one book, one prophet. They swept into a world that was old, complicated, and spiritually exhausted. They first took Ptolemaic Egypt. The armies of the Macedonian hegemon, bogged down in their endless wars in Anatolia, sent too little help, too late. The conquerors did not find a Coptic Christian population chafing under Byzantine rule. They found a Hellenistic society, its elite devoted to the philosophical schools of the Museum, and its masses to 1,000 syncretic mystery cults. To the Arabs, it was a world of decadent idolaters and argumentative atheists. The simplicity of Islam was a clean, sharp sword that cut through the tangled knot of Alexandrian theology. They did not burn the Great Library. That is a myth from another timeline, born of religious strife that never happened here. The Caliph, a man of profound curiosity, saw the library not as a repository of heresy, but as a treasure house of wisdom that must be understood and absorbed for the glory of God. He did not destroy it, he endowed it. Then the armies turned west, into the lands of the Carthaginian metropolis. They did not fight scattered Visigothic lords or the remnants of Roman Africa. They fought the disciplined mercenary armies of the richest empire in the world, a state built on commerce and contracts. The battles were bloody, but the Punic spirit, rooted in profit and loss, eventually made a calculation. A long war would be ruinously expensive. The invaders offered a clear choice: convert and become brothers, or pay the jizya, the tax on non-believers, and keep your faith and your laws. For the pragmatic Punic elite, it was a simple business decision. They paid the tax, but a strange thing happened. The conquerors, who were brilliant warriors and men of immense faith, were not merchants or sailors. They knew how to win a battle, but they did not know how to manage a global supply chain. And so they did a very clever thing. They did not impose a new system. They adopted the one that was already there. The great Punic families that had managed the trade in silver, tin, and ivory for centuries continued to do so. Only now their ledgers were submitted to an Arab emir, and a portion of their profits went to the caliph's treasury in Damascus. This is the world you were born into, a world of synthesis. Your father was a Punic shipbuilder, your mother the daughter of an Arab cavalryman. You grew up speaking Punic in the shipyards and Arabic in the mosque. And now, in the House of Wisdom, you and hundreds of scholars like you are undertaking the great project, the fusion of 3 civilizations. The unexpected twist is the nature of this fusion. In another history, the Islamic Golden Age was a renaissance, a rediscovery of Greek knowledge that had been lost to Europe. Here, it is not a rediscovery. It is a merger. The Greek philosophical tradition in Alexandria was never broken. The Arab scholars do not have to piece Aristotle together from flawed Syriac translations. They walk into the Museum and debate with living Platonists and peripatetics. This direct, unbroken contact supercharges Islamic intellectual life. The rationalist Mutazilite school of theology, which views reason as a path to understanding God, becomes the undisputed center of Islamic thought, not a controversial outlier. Its scholars, armed with the full, undiluted arsenal of Greek logic, create a systematic theology of such intellectual power that it sweeps all other interpretations aside. From the Punic world, the new caliphate inherits not philosophy, but practicality. The Arabs adopt the complex systems of Carthaginian banking, including letters of credit and joint stock companies, Qirad. The Islamic world becomes not just a zone of shared faith, but the most sophisticated free trade zone in history. The Punic genius for administration and the Arab genius for unification create an economic powerhouse that dwarfs anything seen before. The ethical tension is the quiet death of the culture that provides the raw material for this new world. To do your work, you often consult with an old man named Gizgo, one of the last living scholars trained in the old Punic tradition. He sits in a dusty room, surrounded by scrolls his new masters cannot read. He helps you with the nuances of a legal term, the history of a trade dispute. He is unfailingly polite, but there is a profound sadness in his eyes. "You are a good boy," he tells you one day, his voice a dry rustle. "You are saving the knowledge, but you are embalming it. You are taking the living heart of our law and our commerce and placing it in the tomb of a foreign tongue." He is right. The Punic language, once the language of power from Iberia to Tyre, is fading. Arabic is the language of government, of faith, of the future. The old gods Baal, Tanit, Melqart are gone. Their temples converted to mosques or left to crumble. Their transactional faith could not compete with the spiritual force of Islam. You are part of a civilization that is achieving a brilliant synthesis, a new peak of human achievement, but it is built upon the silent extinction of one of its parent cultures. The knowledge is preserved, but the soul is lost. You look at the symbol the new emir of Carthage has adopted for his banner. It is a crescent moon, the ancient symbol of Tanit, now the symbol of Islam. But beneath it, he has placed an elephant, the symbol of Hannibal's invincible armies, the symbol of Carthaginian might, the crescent and the elephant. It is a perfect image of your world, a new faith riding on the back of an old power. It is a symbol of fusion, but also of conquest. The elephant, for all its strength, now walks in the direction dictated by the moon. You are standing in a courtroom in the city of Massalia. The air is thick with the smell of fish from the nearby harbour and the sweat of nervous men. The case before you is complex, a dispute between a Gallic chieftain from the north, a local Greek ship owner, and an agent for a Punic merchant house based in Carthage. The chieftain claims he was sold a shipment of faulty iron tools. The Punic agent claims the tools were of the highest quality when they left his warehouse. The Greek ship owner, who transported the goods, claims his vessel was tossed by a storm, and if any damage occurred, it was an act of the gods, not his fault. You are the presiding magistrate, a dikastes in the Greek tradition. Your role is not to interpret a universal code of written law. No such thing exists. Your role is to be a negotiator, a mediator, a human calculator of custom and obligation. On the table before you are not books of statutes, but a collection of disparate documents. There is the bill of lading from Carthage, written in Arabic on fine parchment, its terms governed by the ancient maritime codes of the Punic world, now incorporated into Islamic commercial law. There is the chieftain's testimony, an oral statement delivered through a translator, based on the tribal customs of his people, which value a man's sworn oath above any written contract. And there is the shipowner's log, written in Greek, which refers to the Rhodian sea law, the traditional code governing shipping in the Eastern Mediterranean. 3 languages, 3 legal traditions, 3 different conceptions of what constitutes proof. This is the world without a single foundational legal idea. It is a world where every transaction, every dispute, every interaction between different peoples is a bespoke negotiation, a fresh argument from first principles. This is the world without jus gentium, the law of nations. That was the unique and now lost invention of the Romans. As their republic expanded, they encountered hundreds of different peoples, each with their own laws. To manage this complexity, their praetors developed a system of universal legal principles, abstract concepts of justice, contract, and property rights that could be applied to anyone, Roman or non-Roman, anywhere in their sphere of influence. It was a legal operating system for a multicultural world. From this, the idea of universal citizenship, of rights that belong to a person by virtue of their status as a citizen rather than their membership in a tribe, would have eventually grown. That scroll was never written. That idea was never born. You begin the proceedings. You listen first to the Gallic chieftain. He is an impressive figure, his red hair braided, his arms covered in swirling tattoos. He does not speak of evidence. He speaks of honor. The word of my clan is our bond, he says, his hand on the hilt of his iron sword. I gave the Punic man my silver. He gave me his word that the tools would be strong. The tools broke. His word is broken. My honor has been insulted. The price of that insult is blood or silver. His argument is rooted in a personal, honor-based system. The dispute is not about a faulty product. It is about a personal affront. His proposed remedy is not compensation. It is satisfaction. Next, you hear from the Punic agent. He is a small, neat man with ink stains on his fingers. He unrolls his contract and points to a specific clause. As you can see, honored, magistrate, Article 7, subsection B, clearly states that upon delivery of the goods to the designated shipping agent in this case, the esteemed Demetrios, all liability for the goods transfers to the buyer. My firm fulfilled its contractual obligation. The chieftain's argument is with the shipowner, or the gods, not with us. His argument is based on the written word, on a pre-agreed contract that seeks to eliminate all ambiguity and personal feeling. Justice, for him, is the precise execution of the terms of a document. Finally, the Greek shipowner speaks. He is a portly man with a wheedling voice. A storm, magistrate! A terrible storm sent by Poseidon himself. The ship was nearly lost. How can I be held responsible for the will of the immortals? It is my loss as much as the chieftain's. We are both victims of fortune. His argument is based on an appeal to fate, to forces beyond human control, a common feature of Hellenistic legal thought. 3 men, 1 dispute, 3 entirely different realities. The ethical tension in this room is the fundamental conflict between these realities. Is justice a matter of personal honor? Is it a matter of contractual precision? Or is it subject to the whims of fate and the gods? In the absence of a universal legal standard, there is no right answer. There is only a negotiated settlement. You spend the next 3 days in intense mediation. You cannot simply impose a verdict. If you do, the losing party will simply refuse to accept its legitimacy. The chieftain's tribe will refuse to trade with Punic merchants. The Punic merchant house will blacklist Massalia as an unreliable port. The entire fragile web of commerce that sustains your city will begin to unravel. Your solution, when you finally broker one, is a masterpiece of ambiguity. The Punic house agrees to provide a 20% discount on the chieftain's next order, as a gesture of goodwill, not an admission of fault. The shipowner agrees to waive his shipping fee for that future order, as a pious offering to the gods who spared his ship. The chieftain agrees to accept this, framing it to his people as a tribute payment he extracted from the southerners. No one is happy, but everyone can save face. The contract is preserved, honor is satisfied, the gods are placated, commerce continues. This is justice in the world of unwritten law. It is not a verdict, it is a deal. The unexpected twist is how this legal fragmentation shapes human identity. Without the abstract concept of universal law or citizenship, a person's identity is defined entirely by their tribe, their city, their religion, or their profession. You are not a citizen of the world. You are a Gallic warrior, a Punic merchant, a Greek sailor. Your rights and obligations are not inherent. They are defined by your membership in a group. This creates incredibly strong, close-knit communities. But it also creates a world of permanent outsiders. The man who belongs to no group, who has no tribe to speak for him, has no rights at all. You watch the three men leave the courtroom. They do not walk out as equals before the law. They walk out as representatives of their separate worlds, having concluded a temporary, fragile truce. Your job is not to build a just society. It is to prevent the 1,000 different societies that use your port from tearing each other apart. You have not upheld the law. You have simply, for one more day, kept the peace. You are in the final, weary months of a 4-year journey. Your name is Gan Ying, and you are an envoy of the great Han Empire, sent west by the Protector General with a simple, impossible command: to go to the end of the world and bring back knowledge of the great empire that lies on the other side of it. You have crossed the merciless Taklamakan Desert, bartered your way through the oasis kingdoms of the Silk Road, and finally, you have reached Ctesiphon, the capital of the Yangtze, the people you know as the Parthians. For 2 years you have lived among them, learning their languages, studying their court, and trying to look past them, to the lands that lie beyond. The Parthians, you have learned, are masters of the middle ground. They are a wall and a bridge. They have been polite, generous, and utterly obstructive. They have no desire for the Han and the great powers of the far west to make direct contact, for their position as the world's great intermediary is the source of their immense wealth. They have told you frightening stories of the Western Sea, of a vast and treacherous ocean that would take years to cross, a journey from which no man returns. You know they are lying, but you have no way to prove it. Your mission has failed. You will not see this distant empire, but you are a scholar as well as a diplomat. You have not been idle. You have spent your time in the libraries and markets, interrogating every traveller, merchant, and captive who has come from the west. Greeks from the Macedonian lands, Gauls with fire in their hair, dark-skinned Punics from the great port cities of the south. You have unrolled their maps. You have listened to their histories. Now, in your chambers, by the light of an oil lamp, you are compiling your final report for the Emperor. It is a portrait of a world that makes no sense. Your brush moves across the silk scroll. You describe the 3 great powers that dominate this half of the world. First, there is Yangtze itself, Parthia. You call it the Kingdom of the Cunning Hand. It is an empire of horsemen and negotiators, ruled by a king who is advised by a council of feuding, powerful nobles. It produces little culture of its own, but it excels at playing its neighbours against one another. It has no grand vision for the world, only a desire to remain at its centre, growing rich on the passage of goods and information. It is a static, stable, and deeply cynical power. To their west lies the kingdom of the Long Spear, the land of the Makedones. This is a world of bewildering contradictions. In its southern province of Aegyptos, in the city of Al-Iskandariya, you have heard tales of a library that holds all the knowledge of the world, of astronomers who have measured the heavens, and inventors who have created machines that move by themselves. Yet this intellectual brilliance is yoked to a brittle, decadent state. A kingdom that has not expanded its borders in a century, its kings consumed with petty dynastic squabbles and the patronage of poets. It is an old, beautiful, and tired civilization, a museum that still breathes. To the south of them, across the Great Sea, lies the most dynamic and dangerous power of all, the one the Greeks call the Caliphate of Al-Carthage. You call it the Kingdom of the Crescent and Elephant. This is a new power, a fusion of two peoples. One, an ancient race of sailors and merchants who built a global network of commerce. The other, a young race of warriors from the Great Desert, armed with a powerful new faith in a single universal God. This hybrid empire controls the seas, its ships sailing south around the great continent of Africa to trade for gold and ivory. Its faith is spreading, a simple and compelling message that is winning converts in every port. They are organized, aggressive, and they believe that history is on their side. You pause, dipping your brush in the inkstone. You have described the pieces, but the picture they form is alien to your understanding of how the world should work. In your world, under the sun of heaven, there is the concept of Tianxia, all under heaven. The emperor does not just rule the Han people. He is the supreme sovereign of the entire civilized world, the center from which all order and harmony flows. Other kings and peoples are merely his younger brothers, his tributaries. They may be temporarily disobedient, but the ideal, the goal, is a single, unified, harmonious world under a single, just ruler. You can find no such idea here. These three great powers are not competing to create a single world. They are defined by their eternal, unbridgeable differences. The Parthians are defined by their noble bloodlines and their nomadic heritage. The Macedonians are defined by their paideia, their Hellenic culture and language, which they believe makes them superior to all barbarians. The Caliphate is defined by its faith. To them, the world is divided not by culture or race, but between the House of Islam and the House of War. They have no universal principle. They have no concept of a shared humanity. They have only their own group, their own tribe, writ large. Their interactions are not a striving towards a common order, but a permanent, carefully managed state of low-grade conflict and high-stakes competition. This is the ethical tension and the final, unexpected twist. This world is not a dark age. It is not a failed state. It is a stable, functioning, multipolar system. It is a world of immense cultural vibrancy, of brilliant scientific achievements, of vast and sophisticated trade networks. It has simply evolved along a different axis. It is a world without a universalizing impulse. You conclude your report with a stark analysis for the emperor. There is no Rome here, no single great empire in the far west. There is a balanced system of three, each of whom will check the ambitions of the others indefinitely. There is no threat of a grand invasion, for none of these powers has the ideology to justify it or the administrative capacity to manage it. There is also no hope of a grand alliance, for they have nothing sufficiently in common to bind them. You have been sent to find the West. You have found that there is no such thing. There is no cohesive set of ideas, no shared history, no single religious or legal foundation that binds these peoples together. There is a Punic Islamic south, a Hellenistic east, a tribal Celtic north, and a Parthian center, but there is no west. The very idea, the very concept of a single civilization stretching from the Italian peninsula to the Atlantic coast, a civilization built on the bones of a single foundational empire, it never formed. It is a ghost, a phantom of a history that never happened. The world did not fall into darkness when Rome was broken. It simply and forever broke apart. To compare one timeline to another is to compare two paintings made from the same initial colors. The first is the one we know, the one that hangs in the familiar gallery of our own history. Its foundational layers are the greys and ochres of Rome, the legion, the law, the road. Over this, the stark whites and golds of Christendom were laid, and then the vibrant, chaotic colors of the nations that rose from its fading image. It is a painting full of shadow and light, of terrible violence and breathtaking beauty, but it is a single, coherent composition bound together by the legacy of that first empire. It is the painting we call the West. The world we have just witnessed is the other painting. The initial colors were the same, Punic, Greek, Celt, Latin, but the artist's hand faltered at a crucial moment. The Roman foundation was never laid. And so, the painting that emerged is a completely different composition. It is not a single scene, but a triptych, a mosaic of distinct, brilliant, and forever separate panels. One panel shows the golden age of a Punic Islamic caliphate, a world of scientific and commercial genius. Another depicts the unbroken, elegant sunset of the Hellenistic tradition, a culture of profound philosophical depth. A third shows the dark, vital greens of a Celtic world that was never tamed. Each panel is a masterpiece in its own right, its colours deeper and purer, perhaps, for never having been mixed with the others, what was lost. The strange and powerful ghosts that haunt our own timeline, the idea of a universal citizenship that transcends tribe, of a secular law that stands above the king, of a single human story. This alternate world is richer in diversity, but poorer in unity. It is a world of magnificent, interwoven cultures, but it lacks a common conversation. So, is history a march of progress, or merely a series of accidents? The second painting suggests it is the latter. The world we inhabit is not an inevitability. It is the result of a desperate gamble in the summer of 216 BCE, a decision made in the dust and heat by a tired Carthaginian general. Our reality is built upon the foundation of his hesitation. It is a world born from a single, contingent moment, a ghost of a different possibility, no more real or destined than the one we have just imagined.